Woohoo! This is Chopping It Up with Ngaio, where Ngaio calls his homies and some random strangers every once in a while, and we chop it up for a period of time. We talk about whatever the fuck we want because it's my goddamn show. My name is Ngaio Beelam. I'm your host. This is brought to you by JuicyFields.io. Juicy Fields is a nice way you can invest in cannabis from the privacy of your home for not very much money up front. JuicyFields.io. Check it out. I am sitting here today. By the way, this is our inaugural, our first episode of Chopping It Up with Ngaio. Very exciting. And I'm sitting here today with maybe top 5 well-dressed men in comedy. A legend, an icon. You've seen him on Disney. You've seen him probably at your hometown comedy club. You listen to his podcast, The Smartest Man in the World, and he's here for us this afternoon or this morning or this evening or whenever you listen to this podcast. Please give it up for the one and only GREG PROOPS.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Ngaio. Hi, everybody.
How are you today? I should mention, this is December 23rd. It's Festivus, and so we're just in front of Christmas and New Year's in 2022.
I've just finished the feats of strength and moving on to the airing of grievances later. I find that every day is the airing of grievances, a little too much, in my opinion.
If you're doing it right, well, you're becoming older and more crotchety. So your filter is probably not what it used to be.
Well, you've known me a long time. I was ready for this years ago, I think.
Years ago. I've been working on my dirty old man since I was 25. You've been working on your crotchety old man since you were like 30. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, I'm good today. I just watched that James Bond movie, Too Soon to Die or whatever it is, or You Oughtn't Die If You Can. I'm not going to blow the ending, but it was pretty wild.
I enjoyed it, and I'm assuming people mostly have seen it, and it's not even a spoiler when I'm talking about it. The thing I enjoyed most was they seemed to spend more time delving into the world, like they were doing actual like James Bond world building. Maybe in hopes of creating more spin-offs. A lot of the agents, a lot of the newer people they introduced looks like they would be fun in some movies. And I would be interested in seeing more of that, or the super James Bond, super spy team where he puts together his own thing and goes off.
Well, I love the woman who was 007, she was a cool character. And who was the woman, like the Spanish operative?
The Spanish one, yeah.
She certainly had her own franchise coming. And Q. But I think Q you put in all of them, right? Because
Q's the through line. Q is the Samuel L. Jackson of the James Bond universe.
He's the one with the microphone and stuff.
He's right. He shows up and does all the things. Was that the most recent movie you've seen, or
it is? I just finished watching it a few moments ago, and
in preparation for the show.
Yes, what I like to do is I bounce off that and then run right over here.
Is Daniel Craig your favorite Bond?
Huh?
Is Daniel Craig your favorite Bond?
You know what? I don't even mind saying that. Sean Connery I always loved because I grew up with him. But the only other movies that I want to watch that are Bond movies are the Daniel Craig ones. There, I've said it.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen all the Roger Moore ones, and I've seen
no Pierce Brosnan love at all. Am I the only one who has a small amount of love for Pierce Brosnan?
You know which movie I love him in the most? Is it called The Matador?
That's a more recent one,
right?
Not recent, but like
a kind of a caper film, slash hitman film with of all people, Greg Kinnear. But Pierce Brosnan's awesome as the dissolute hitman in that.
He is actually really good in that now, and I love a caper or a heist. That's almost a question I ask anybody I've ever met. I'm like, "What's your favorite heist film?" Because I really think it tells me a lot about you as a person.
Well, it's hard to top Thomas Crown Affair, even
the original.
The Steve McQueen one with Faye Dunaway.
Okay.
Because the outfits are so good, and it really, really shallow. Like there's a whole dune buggy sequence where they ride around in white jeans in a dune buggy, and awesome 60s music plays, and it's like that's just good filmmaking.
But is the heist itself good in that movie though?
The first one, if you remember the first one, they all come into the bank wearing black and white suits, like Reservoir Dogs,
right.
shades, and they throw a purple gas bomb. This is just before Batman, right? It's like Batman era, a purple gas bomb down the thing. So there's all this purple smoke, Yeah, I think the first one's pretty stylish, man.
The first was pretty stylish.
Sorry?
I can't say I really remember the Thomas Crown Affair, but I'm willing to take your word for it. And also, people have told me that The Killing is a good one, and I still haven't seen that one yet. That's the Kubrick.
Oh
one.
my God. Yeah, well, that's
I know.
one. The Killing one
I've
is
been meaning to watch it.
it has some amazing elements that you don't really get in movies from that era. For instance, there's a gay character, and no one really says he's gay, but he's gay, and you know,
gay coding, queer coding, I think is what the kids call it.
Right. And he's totally queer coding. And also at the end of the movie, like he shows up at the heist drunk, which is awesome. It's a wild card, like they're pulling the heist, and all of a sudden he's there like, hey, everybody. And they're like, wait a minute, your part was over. And he's like, I just want to see how it comes out. And you're like, what? You know, so that's good.
Wow,
and
that's the twist.
Yeah, it's pretty wild movie. It's a pretty wild movie.
That's on my list. That's on my list of things to check out. I think The Sting doesn't count as a heist because it's a con.
The Sting. Yeah, the Sting is like,
so
it's good old fashioned hokum. It really is. It makes you feel good.
Hokum, bunko.
Yeah, they have good mustaches, and there's a lady hitman in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with the young Robert Redford and the young Paul Newman at the beginning of their beautiful friendship.
And they're also playing way younger than they are, which is fantastic. They're both in their, like, I think Paul's in his 40s by this point, and
for real
playing like Robert Redford's playing like he's a scruffy, lovable kid, and he's like 38. So
yeah, that is true. They do call him the kid in that film, and he's clearly, you know, he's been holding on to that moniker. Right, it's like when the fat boys started to get older. You're like, are you the fat man by now? Or that's not fair.
But is it a caper film if there's a bunch of capers, or is it a caper film if they just pull one caper? You know what I mean? Usually,
I think it depends on the catering.
Right? Who's going to drive? There's you're pulling me out of retirement, and I have to do one last job against my better judgment. And then there's we do a bunch of capers because we're a gang, and then we eventually get caught. And then there was that Widows one that the director
with Viola Davis in them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought that one didn't hold together. I thought all the actresses in it were great, but I didn't think Steve McQueen made it that tense.
Yeah. I feel you on that. The tension could have been, but yeah, everybody was good. I think an underrated heist, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was with Queen Latifah and this is the best way to have a podcast, is to forget what you're talking about. Maybe I should smoke other different weeds before I come on. It's Queen Latifah. It's the woman who used to be married to Tom Cruise. This is how old I am now. This is how I have to give.
Which one? Katie
Holmes. Katie Holmes. Queen Latifah. And who's the one who was in the Jack Nicholson film with Helen? What? Mad Money.
Mad Money.
Bad Money. I thought it was a good heist. They robbed the mint.
Callie Curry directed it, who wrote Thelma and Louise.
Well, there you go. That explains a lot.
Right?
See? Empowerment, women doing powerful things.
Yeah. I've never seen that one. That sounds good.
Yeah, I can recommend it. I'm a
fan.
Well, there you go.
Not enough women caper movies, to be honest.
No, there should be more. Although Ocean's 8 was a little disappointing because the twists were not super twisty, and you figured they were. And they kind of, I don't know. You saw it?
I did, and I love the premise, and I love their outfit, and I love the whole, Super Bowl. I always love everything when it's set at the opera or something super classy, and that always gives everything the sheen. But yeah, it could have had more twists, and then at the end they all kind of high five, and you're like, I got it. Yeah.
The stakes weren't very high, and they were pointing out like, of course it's going to go well because a bunch of women designed it and did it, so we don't fuck around like that. And I kind of get that point, but still, you still want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Shorts the jump.
I like the look of it probably more than anything else, and I love the actresses in it. So
Sandra Bullock hardly does anything ever wrong. I've never seen her make a bad move.
No, she's pretty awesome.
Career. Yeah, she is pretty awesome. There was something else I was going to say. We were talking about the thing, and then it doesn't matter.
James Bond.
What are you keeping warm? Where have you been?
I've been on. We were talking before we came on about a little bit about the state of play of everything, right? Like where I'm going, San Francisco, supposedly this week for New Year's. The traditional, and the podcast, everything. The Punchline is an intimate room, and they've cut down the capacity to 100 and something. but it's close. You're from the stage. The back wall's what, 30 feet away?
You're,
Like it's
one of the things that makes it a great comedy club is the ceilings
right.
are kind of low and everybody's right up on you, so the jokes don't have to travel very far to
You
hit
can
people in the
raise your
face.
eyebrow. You can pause and take a breath there. Stuff you can't do.
You can do some asides, sotto voce.
Yeah, you can do sotto voce. It's really a room where I find the storytelling gets better because you can kind of slow down and go like, and take a beat because you're doing close up magic. I feel like, as opposed to other rooms in the city. Anyway, we're supposed to do it, but everything's like really hectic with the old Abacab variant.
The Omarian virus.
Yeah, the Oma. LA's cases have tripled in like 3 days.
No shit.
So everybody's laying low. Yeah. And of course, the state's on a mask mandate and jazz. I was on the road for 2 months with Who's Line. We went back on the road after a year and a half. We literally didn't work. We did a couple Zoom shows or whatever. I did some Zoom with you even. But
that's right. I'm going to have to get back into it because.
Right.
That's why I'm starting a podcast.
So we spent forever not working. And then we were able to go out on the road. And it was great fun. And we went to America, man. We went to Indiana and Ohio and, Illinois and whatnot.
America. So you drove through the flyover states.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, I love the South. The Midwest, I feel like you can get enough of in a couple of days. But, when we did Florida at the end, and everyone in Florida masked up, even though the governor's, as complete flying around the air, pterodactyl lunatic. And
he's deranged.
Well, like human life. Aren't you supposed to care about human life if governor's in your title?
Not if it's going to get in the way of the money. Or
Geez.
Running for president in 2024 on the Trump train.
And they said there was 200,000 unvaccinated have died since June. And so it's a disease of the unvaccinated. And so your state's part of, never mind. Anyway, they masked up for us. And then in Fort Lauderdale, they even had vax cards and stuff. So wow, we had 3 dates canceled on us in Ngaio. We had 2 in Iowa and 1 in Arizona because they wouldn't wear masks.
No.
And we were sold out.
That's crazy. I did a show in Arizona in, I think it was October, and they are very flexible about the mask out there. But that was before the Omicron, and I was completely vaccinated, and and I was being very German with my joints, as opposed to Americans, where you smoke a joint and you hand it to somebody and it goes around the circle and everybody. I was very Berlin style, where I roll my own joint, my special blend, and I fucking keep it to myself. Mm-hmm. You smoke your own joint. And if you would like to smoke a joint, I can give you some weed and you could roll your own joint or smoke your own bowl. But I'm not really trying to share joints with people right now, it really makes me sad because that's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, I was going to say, you and me, the smoking of weed before the show, even with patrons and friends and whatnot.
Right. I learned that from Dr. Gonzo, by the way. He said he would go out and smoke a joint in the crowd before he'd open for bands, and it would help everybody to relax around him and not be so mad. We smoked a joint with that guy.
It's a tradition, I mean, if you work with Doug Benson ever, that was the hour before the show is spent. So, but I'm not putting anything in my mouth that you put in your mouth. I mean, I'm just not doing it. And we didn't talk to anybody after the show. Normally we'd sign autographs, you hug people and stuff, all the stuff you do with people who come to see you. We went back to the hotel, we'd wave at them, and nobody allowed backstage. We had no one but us backstage for 3 months.
That's gotta be so weird.
Well, and if we caught a guy early on, one of us was drinking in the bar in Philly at the hotel bar, which is, it was pretty open, but we all the next day, and nope. And that was that. No,
there's some shaming going on.
They were vaccinated. And I go yeah, you think they're vaccinated, but see, the thing is,
one of those things. Nobody's going to tell you they have herpes at the orgy.
Right. If one of us gets sick, then everyone has to, you know what I mean? There's no.
You guys stand face to face and you do hands, and people laugh at each other's jokes all up in it.
It's weird because we made it through all that, and then now we get back here and everything. I feel like we might lock down again,
We might have to, man, because it's going in the first pandemic, I knew a few people, but not really, mostly friends of friends who came down with it. And the other cats who came down with it were cats who didn't stop touring. Like
Yeah.
they just didn't stop. And so they're touring Texas and Alabama and all the places that didn't give a shit. And so, of course, they caught it, right?
Yep.
But just recently, I have some friends who I know to be very safe who came down with it. And my boy Keith Jensen was just at the punchline, and everybody was like, we're all masked and boosted. And then the opener just announced that he tested positive this morning, and now Keith has to cancel all his Christmas plans. So it's tough. It's tough. I got rapid tests, and I'm generally very careful about things.
Oh, me too. We took one today, you know, and it's like, that's the thing.
I take one every hour and a half.
Right?
It's costing me a fortune.
And by the way, the reason why there's a shortage of tests is because the unvaccinated get tested at work like 3 times a week because they refuse to get vaccinated. So in order to carry on, they have to be tested all the time. So they're eating up all the tests as well as making this the slowest recovery in the history of mankind.
What can we do?
Nothing now. You know what? They'll eventually come. I think of the unvaccinated, 10, 20% of them will just eventually get vaccinated because their job will require it and hear me out on this, they'll sneak it. They'll just do it.
Right. Also, Trump just came out yesterday and he was like, yeah, you guys should all get vaccinated because I guess someone finally pointed out that it's mostly Republicans who are getting it.
That's the thing. His constituency is the one that's dying, and it's pretty weird to promote sickness and death in the people that support you. So, or it's a new wrinkle for American politics.
How can they even steal the election if anyone who would vote for them has already passed away? You can't be like, you can't even get 5,000 votes. There's 4,000 people in this place. 1,000 of them died because of you. So
the logic is pretty, like you said, it's all, I think this is all about money because it's just too crazy. It's too crazy.
You know, listen, and people say you get more conservative as you get older, which I find to be untrue. I am way more radical now. I used to be way more of a moderate. Like, well, let's all just work it out. You'll be a little unhappy. I'll be a little happy. We'll have a great time. And now I'm like, burn the whole fucking thing to the ground. All cops are ridiculous. We should be a socialist republic. Anarchy should rule the world. And I don't always feel like that in my heart, but I feel like that has to be the starting point of my arguments.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get some compromise.
Oh, no, I think the time requires it, man. And like, Jennifer said it to me. It's like, she goes, there's right and there's what's right and there's the abyss. And I don't feel like I'm a morally justified warrior who's pure and good and true. Obviously, I have nothing but flaws, but I feel like the other team right now are straight up racist, homophobic, sexist Nazis.
Bruh,
and they don't have another
hiding
agenda. There isn't another like game they're playing. The game they're playing is the deadly Nazi game. And so it's like, yes, you have to be that radical, I think, at all times to counter that shit because, fortunately, the law is still operating eventually. And they're going to run them all down. I think there's 3 more years, by the way. Everybody's so panicked about it's going too slow. He's already had 4 or 5 cohorts go to jail and a bunch more are going to go to jail. Everyone's not going to get 10 years. There's not going to be a guillotine. No. We're not going to get any French Revolution satisfaction out of this. You put away your.
That's fine. I'm still a moderate in some things.
Put away your.
You can't be against the death penalty and for the guillotine.
No, right? I'm against the death penalty for my enemies. So we're never going to get that kind of jolt. But they'll be also, he's all over the yard. I just don't dig the whole idea that because they're fascists, we're supposed to be quivering with fear all the time that they're so great. They're clearly lame and they clearly understand that it's ending. And so that's why they're flailing out now.
Yeah.
The Republican Party was always the same. You're old enough to remember Reagan and Bush.
What was it? Philadelphia, Arkansas was where he announced his, or Philadelphia, some deep southern town was where he announced his presidency.
States' rights, right? Yeah. And that meant genocide. It means their ticket was always racism. Nixon ran
always.
Reagan was wild racist and hatred of the young and hatred of the poor, which always means different races. And then W, are you kidding? Does anyone remember how upset we all were for 8 years while W was president? Because he was so awful and corrupt. I mean, it wasn't that fun. People now cast him like he's cute and stuff because he likes to hug Michelle and steal candy from her.
And he's a painter. So was Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And Hitler, could hang wallpaper too. No,
That's a variation of a Mark Maron joke.
I mean, this whole thing is that Orange 45 is some sort of aberration. It's like he's the logical. What was it? Jennifer was quoting it the other day. Was it H. Rap Brown or who said it when Kennedy, or it was Malcolm X, when Kennedy was assassinated? He said, "Now all the birds have come home to roost."
The chickens have come home to roost.
Their big reckoning. Orange 45, the 2 impeachments, the crazy sedition, lying about the sedition, keeping that going. This is crunch time for them.
They are grasping at the straws. They don't really have much left, and it's
when you won't lose the election, you've already become Bulgaria. Like you've ceded the high ground on this one, and you're scrambling to literally keep a coalition of people together based on your crappy lies.
And even if you did, and this is, I'm trying to figure out how to put this the right way. In America, if you got cheated out of an election, you concede fair and square to keep democracy alive. Kennedy did it. Fucking Gore did it. Right? You mean, or Nixon, I guess. Kennedy beat Nixon, but there was some funkiness about the votes, right? Bush beat Gore. There was some funkiness. And everybody was like, all right, that's cool, right? Hillary lost. And there was still some funkiness. And she was like, listen, for the good of the country, we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't believe that there was any funkiness in the election that elected Joe Biden. But even if there was, the GOP should still be like, hey, that's just how it goes, bruh. If you don't have any definitive proof that you caught them cheating, then you just got to suck it up and go hard for 4 years. This is what America's supposed to do. And they don't want to do it. They want to act like.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, look, 2016 was completely corrupted and completely bad. And Hillary Clinton wouldn't litigate it. She took the hit. And
which is what you're supposed to do in America.
When you lose by 70,000 votes across 4 states or whatever, you have every right to demand a hand recount.
Yes, you do.
It's a lot of people voting. It's 150 million, 200 million people voting. And so what? But yeah, no, you're right. Everybody up till now pretty much dealt with it, including, the only elections in my mind that have been legitimate in my lifetime.
Dog catcher.
Well, Clinton's, Obama's, and Biden's. They seem like they actually won. Carter too. But all the Republican ones,
especially Carter in 76,
were super shady. I mean, W did not win either election, in my opinion, but that's me.
You don't think he won either one, even though he was the wartime president coming into 2012?
I think Kerry did really well against him, as you recall. And they made a real big point of calling Ohio at 7:00 at night. And they also closed the Cuyahoga County voting thing and wouldn't let reporters in. And,
wasn't that the one where Dick Cheney was kind of smirking the whole time when Kerry was kind of in the lead in the beginning and Cheney was like, it was like Kirk at the Kobayashi Maru, like, I already know.
Yeah, they totally.
The fix is it.
Karl Rove's genius was that Karl Rove went precinct by precinct. Karl Rove knew how to break it down, how to gerrymander, how to go for the white vote within an area. And that's what they were able to do. And as you recall, in Gore, when they were trying to count the votes, they sent a bunch of white collar guys in who kind of disrupted it. And they were all well-funded dudes who'd been sent.
Yeah, it wasn't a grassroots thing. It was like the white suit brigade or the brown suit. I don't know what they call it. The brown suit brigade. It's like the brown shirts, but with nice ties. Brooks Brothers Brigade.
They were Brooks Brothers Brigade. It's like the seditionists, man. The seditionists are all, teachers and firemen and policemen, and there was a few doctors in there, and
a couple judges.
Yeah, there were
lots of police officers.
This wasn't unwashed rabble. This wasn't that.
No, it kind of pains me, man, because
it wasn't the peasants' revolt.
I was hoping that things would get better, and people would act right and start to come around. But these people, especially when Trump won, I told everybody, I was like, now the super racists are going to double down because they're going to feel like it's white boy day.
Yep.
And and that it's okay. You can use racism to win, and you can use racism to get your way. And they've been really trying it, and it's been kind of a challenge. And it's a drag because I fucking love Montana and Idaho and these places. And I've driven through there all by myself, done sets, one-nighters, everything, and I've never really tripped or had any problems. But now I'm like, man, do I really want to go? There's going to be some asshole carrying a gun in the Taco Bell, and I'm going to want to say something, but he's got a gun, so I'm not going to say anything. And then I'm going to feel like I'm not standing up for myself. It just,
no, it's horrible.
You know, it's horrible. I remember one time I was in, where was it? Winnemucca. I think it was either Winnemucca or Elko, you know, Career on Fire tour. And I'm at the truck stop, I'm gassing up, and there's these two guys in front of me, and this is during some Middle East problems. And he's like, we should just go in there and take over and get all their oil and do the things. And I was like, hey, bro, how long do you think we're going to hold it? How long do you think it's going to take? Right? Imagine if Iraq came in and invaded us, right? You'd be the first cat suicide bombing. You'd be the first one running up to try to shoot people to start a war. So do you really think that that's the way to do it? You think that's the way we can handle these problems? And they just kind of looked at me like they think of war in the abstract.
Yeah. Right?
Or like it's a video game. You're just going to shoot somebody and then you're going to teabag them and you're going to fucking run off and respawn later. Bruh. Right?
You have another life. You have another life and you pop up.
Yeah. That's not how it goes. I got homies who got faces blown off and shit.
Oh, yeah. So, how mad were everybody that of Afghanistan that Biden ended it? People were literally mad. The press acted mad about it. And they produced all these people who were like, no, we should still be there. And it's like 20 years. This is like ancient Greece. This is like the fucking Peloponnesian War. You can't have a war that goes on for where fathers and sons and mothers and daughters are fighting the same war.
And you're not creating any goodwill, right?
And how
you
many,
might as well jump in and drop in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, that kid whose brother you killed or whose dad you killed, he's going to hate you for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Right? Even if he gets older and forgives you for it, he's still going to hate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, empire building is not mean that we're allies till the end of time. But I was really proud of Biden for just doing it. And I know
it was a tough call. But listen, here's the thing: the Defense Department still got $768 billion, so it's not like we're getting a wartime peace dividend.
It's like the defund the police thing or whatever. Believe me, police departments are still overfunded, and there's still loads of police.
They haven't been defunded.
Oh no, not at all. And you may have noticed that they were all going to quit, remember, because they were so mad at us because we made them take vaccines. And then none of them did. They all took the vaccines.
No. Well, you remember when New York tried the blue flu for a minute? They were like a negotiating tactic. Everybody called in sick and crime rates went down and fewer people went to Rikers Island for a couple of days. And they were like, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't the best idea. People seem to be happy and enjoying themselves.
I mean, you know, their jobs.
Oh my God, you're gonna call it sick, but who's gonna harass minorities on the subway for bullshit if you guys don't show up to work?
Right? Who's
gonna show up after my house was broken into and write some notes and tell me they can't do anything about it?
Right? Who's gonna bring 27 vehicles and a helicopter to a break-in? That's a homeless guy, and then spend 6 hours there with all those vehicles. And yeah, Los Angeles Police Department is wild because that happened.
They are different.
Oh no, they're funded. So the smallest thing, you've got helicopters and 50 cars, and you know. You
have to justify those expenses. Like I spent 5 days in a variety of Los Angeles jails one time, just on some random. Forgot I had a failure to appear, and then I had a light out, and then I was in jail. Right, so I got arrested like down by the airport, but my warrant, so I spent the night in the airport jail, then they sent me to county for the weekend, but my warrant was in East LA, so then they sent me to East LA. But then one of the dudes was talking to me about it, and he's like, yeah, every time you get on that bus, somebody gets paid, right? They pay for the bus trip, you get paid, they get paid for you spending the night in that jail, you get paid, the other jail gets paid for you spending the night there, the other jail gets paid for you spending the night there, right? There's all different, it's, you know, so their interests are kind of keep you in a variety of jails for a little while, even though they were hella overcrowded, so they couldn't keep me for hella long, and it was a bullshit. Anyway,
yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter. But it was also fucked up because East LA, I get out of jail in my jail jumpsuit, but all my property and shit is in downtown LA. So now I got to get from, and I don't have my cell phone, I don't have anything.
Right.
I got to get from East LA to downtown LA. And that's the day I learned that your jail jumpsuit gets you on the bus for free.
Really?
Yeah. So I still have it every once in a while if I have to take the bus in LA. Yeah. But people are also nicer to you when you're walking down the street in your jail jumpsuit like you just got out. They're like, yeah, dog, I know how it is, man. You need to sit right. You need a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
So
it's a real sympathy giver.
Yeah, man. You feel some sympathy for it. Because if you had your choice of walking down the street in your regular clothes or your jail jumpsuit, I'm pretty sure I know which one you would pick. Right? If you're wearing your jail jumpsuit, it has come to that. Yeah. It has come to that. So you probably need a little help. What's your favorite cannabis strain these days?
I don't know. I don't get that technical. I'm more like but I'm indica based as a human.
Okay.
I want to be. I was with a friend who's in our little improv group. I won't name his name, Jeff Davis, and we were in a dispensary outside of Washington, Seattle, on the freeway, maybe 30, 40. I can't remember the name of the little town. Anyway, there's no town there. It's a filling station, a taco stand, a convenience store, a wine shop, and then there's a dispensary on the corner. So it's like one. And I always think, great. So
that's really all you need,
right? Drink wine.
And some chicken and JoJo's.
Get high and then get back in your car and drive to Seattle.
So that's what it does.
We walk into the dispensary there and they see who we are. And I go, do you want to see an ID? And the guy's like, no. And Jeff Davis goes, do you have any weed? And, obviously it's like every dispensary. It's like Tiffany's. There's bugs glistening on velvet and, and diamond shaped fractals and, adenoids floating in the air, whatnot, and every manner of vape and giga and edible and dab and whatnot. And he says to the cat, "Do you have any weed that's like not that strong?" And the guy goes, "No." And I was like, "Jeff, take one hit and then see how you go." That's
there's that, but there's also, and this is a pet peeve of mine that I'm getting into, and I'm probably going to have to write about it. By the way, this is Chopping It Up with Ngaio. My name is Ngaio Beelam. I'm joined by the inimitable GREG PROOPS. And this show is brought to you by juicyfields.io. Check it out, juicyfields.io, an easy way to invest in the cannabis industry. One of my pet peeves these days is people thinking that THC percentage is the end all be all of cannabis goodness, or that means cannabis. Oh, this is 30% THC, so obviously it's good weed. No, it is not good weed. Just because it's high THC, Everclear is 180 proof. You don't fucking drink that shit every day or after work when you want a shot. You're like, let's do some, pour me the good stuff. Break out the Everclear. That's not how it works. It's the flavor. It's the terpenes. It's the vibe that you get that creates a good weed. Most of the weeds that win the Emerald Cup clock in at 17 to 21% THC. And everyone's always shocked. And I'm like, yeah, this is 19% THC, but it tasted like a goddamn pine forest with a hint of pineapples and strawberries. And I giggled and then I got laid. So this is a fantastic strain of weed.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just, oh, I'm fucking 30% weed. I took 2 hits and now I'm paranoid. I can't even enjoy this sunset.
Right. I can't watch this movie because I think Moana's on my dick.
I got secondhand embarrassment from this I Love Lucy episode because she can't get her shit together. I feel so bad for her.
Yeah. I'm watching Money Heist and I feel like the cops are after me. Yeah. No. I agree.
Oh, sorry.
And also some, people have to know their own boundaries or what.
Yeah.
Your and my tolerance is probably a good deal higher than your average bear. But
my tolerance has gone down a little bit. I'm actually kind of a 2-hitter now.
Oh, good for you.
It's a little sad because I like to smoke. I like the flavor of it. But
I gave up drink, so I'm basically just smoking weed now. So.
They call that California sober, right?
Oh no, totally. All the leaves are brown, except actually all the leaves are green.
All the leaves are green.
And the sky is what?
And my weed is great.
And the sky is slurple. So some people get too high and you're like, then they can't communicate with you. And that's an issue,
Yeah.
I think, with when I'm with people and I know that they don't get high a lot. I'm like, don't do that. Sometimes they go like, hey, okay, here's a couple holiday stories.
All right.
Jennifer was a Pilates class and they were having their Christmas party. So we were on a balcony in Los Angeles with a lot of groovy people. And I took out my weed and and one of the people there who'd had a few drinks, and this is always how these stories begin, took some weed and I went, you might want to go easy. I threw a little cautious because it's very strong indeed. And you've already had alcohol. And she goes, look, I'm from San Francisco and you can do three things, right? You can take, you can take a cable car off my ass. You can, one to so I'm like, okay.
We can do three things. We can make rice-a-roni.
Right. I'm not trying to be the balcony lawyer here.
We can fucking get drunk and smoke weed, whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to adjudicate your life. I'm just saying I'm saving you trouble, because what happens is the spinning and then the sickness and
I'm the same way.
Cut to, we find out the next day what happened to Abby or whatever her name was. And it was like, well, she passed out in the car, then she had to be taken home. Then she threw up, and I was like, well, she didn't eat. She had about 4 wines, and then she got hella high on some strong, and then the equilibrium was on.
I tell people all the time when I'm smoking weed behind some nightclub and some drunk dude comes up and wants a hit, I'm like, bro, are you sure? Because you're already drunk.
Yep.
Right. And I've learned from experience that I can be stoned and get drunk, but I can't be drunk and get stoned. Right. Because sometimes a little crossfade, like you've smoked a joint and then you have a shot or a strong cocktail, you walk around like, ooh, hey, all right. But yeah, no, man, don't get drunk first, because that's when the spinning and the vomiting and the problems. I had a girlfriend one time. She told me, it was like we had just moved in together, so I'm meeting her friends. We're going to a bunch of parties and stuff. And one time we're getting ready to go to a party. She goes, hey, don't bring one of those damn party killer joints. My friends don't smoke like yours. Right? You make everybody quiet and boring. So quit doing that shit. And I was like, all right, I'll keep it to
the party killer.
I'll roll a hybrid.
Yeah, you're the only one hyper. That's the thing.
Right? I'm hot. I'm like, yeah, you guys, let's do some shit. They're like, man, come on, bro.
I get hyper on weed and talkative, and other people get, reflective and contemplative. And it's like, well, I can go the other way. Obviously, I can read for hours or whatever. But I mean, during the.
Are you reading anything good right now?
Yeah. What am I reading? Oh, you're gonna love this one, man. Because
am I?
Oh, you can't see it. Oh, there you go. I'm reading
Scaramouche.
Scaramouche by Sabatini. Now,
Vincent Sabatini. Who did the translation? No, I'm fucking. I won't. If Escoffier didn't do the translation, then I don't know if I can.
Yeah, no, I'm 1933, France. He also wrote that you might have seen the Seahawk and Captain Blood, which are all Errol Flynn movies.
Yeah. And, Scaramouche wasn't it like kind of the original Zorro or some crazy shit like that? What?
There's one from the 50s that's in Technicolor with Stuart Granger, but it's really good. He's a would-be lawyer at the time when the revolution breaks out, and because he gets in trouble messing with the aristocracy, he's forced to take refuge in a theater troupe where he becomes their head comedy writer, and that's where he becomes Scaramouche. You see, it's great. And then he takes over a fencing school from the master who gets killed in the revolution and becomes the greatest so you see
wow. He becomes the greatest fencer. So not only is he funny, he can kick your ass, so you can't really say shit to him about it.
Right, and he can kick your ass. And what they've just had a scene in the book where Danton just came to visit him and asked him to kill some royalty and shit. So it's pretty good.
Nice. So at first I was thinking maybe Steve Martin would write the treatment, but now I'm thinking it's a Soderbergh.
Right.
Or maybe an Apatow.
Let me read you the opening line, because it's a famous one in Adventures, and I'll only read you the opening line because if Sabatini,
please do, Uncle Greg.
Yeah, if Sabatini has any skill, this line is so genius. Scaramouche, Chapter 1, The Republican. He was born with a gift of laughter and a sense the world was mad.
Wow, I'm going to put that on my tombstone.
Right? He was born with a gift of laughter. In a sense, the world was mad.
I might get that tattooed on my back.
It's a pretty cracking opening line.
Yeah. Sense of laughter, and the gift of laughter, and the sense that the world was mad. I'm just gonna start saying that to people randomly.
Right? A gift of
Right?
laughter.
Just standing in line, just tap someone on the shoulder. He was born with a gift of laughter and a sense that the world was mad. And then I'll just stand there knowingly.
Yeah, it's a hot one. It's like the one that Coppola used at the beginning of The Godfather. That it's supposed to be Balzac, but I don't think he ever said it, which is behind every great fortune, a great crime.
Huh!
The Godfather starts with that written on the screen.
That's the Kennedys. That's the Musks in their emerald mines.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot behind every great fortune. There's a great crime.
Oh, no question.
And I have a list of things to get tattooed on my back.
You're going to have a very full back. It's going to be like
I'm going to have to start working out.
Right? So
I need bigger lats.
Yeah,
so I can get more words on it.
Someone else gave me a book about, I don't think I have it handy here. I have a book on the first Japanese player in the bigs. He played for the Giants in the 60s, and his name was Masanori Murakami. And he lasted 1 year. And then the Japanese leagues made it kind of difficult on him, and he had to go back to Japan. But he was on the 64 Giants with Willie Mays and Willie McCovey or Cepeda.
Well, that's kind of cool. How did he hit?
No, let's just stop here for a second. And I know your fans might not all be baseball fans, but they have to. Ohtani.
This is Chopping It Up with Ngaio, by the way, brought to you by juicyfields.io, where we talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. We're here to chop it up. Maybe I'll put some footnotes on the YouTube page. Right. Please continue, Greg.
Then let's talk about great hitting pitchers. In the Negro Leagues, of course, famously, Don Newcomb was such a good hitter that he pinch hit. Bob Gibson was also a very good hitter. But then when you go back to the Negro Leagues, there's several. Jose Mendez and am I thinking Bullet Joe Rogan? I might be getting, and they were also great hitters, and they pitched. And Page couldn't hit at all. No, he was a very poor hitter, but he was a great pitcher.
This is true.
But Babe Ruth, of course, and a player named Joe Wood, who pitched for the 1912 Red Sox and blew his arm out. He won 30 games that year. And then they moved him to the outfield, and he stayed in the big leagues for like another 10 years playing outfield. But what Ohtani did is absolutely like unprecedented.
That guy was a monster last year.
It's different than Babe Ruth because the transitional year for Ruth is like when they discovered he was a great hitter or figured it out, since he was having to bat 4 times a day every 4 days, that the dude swung for the fences and hit homers. And he was the best left-hander in the American League, maybe in baseball. He won 23 games 1 year and 24.
He was kind of unhittable.
He had a scoreless streak in the World Series over when the Red Sox were actually the best team in the American League. Anyway, when 1919, they kind of started him some, and then they really put him in the outfield. So he started a few games, but they figured out no. And then he got traded after that, of course. But Ohtani, they knew coming in.
That was kind of his deal, though. Like, he wanted to do both. He was very adamant about that.
It's just crazy. It's like they didn't just figure out, oh shit, he's a great pitcher, we got to pitch him. It's like, oh no, he's a great pitcher, and then when he's not pitching, he has to play every day because he's going to have 30 home runs. Yeah,
and not cheap home runs, not punch and Judy home runs. He's going to jack.
He's scientific. He's strong. He's disciplined. He's really, really deferential. He always addresses.
Quick. His bat is so fast. It comes flying around. Like, his angles are ridiculous.
He's a superb base runner. I mean,
he's an all-around baseball player. Mac of all trades.
He's the greatest player playing. I mean, I love Mike Trout and I love, whoever, but I just
Tatis.
Well, Fernando Tatis is amazing, but Fernando, he's a great ball player.
Welcome to Hot Stove Leave, brought to you by Chopping It Up by Ngaio.
But he can't.
Baseball expert GREG Proops.
Right? I can't start Fernando Tatis 20 times and expect him to win 10 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Ohtani, I can do that. I can start you in the middle of, I need a pitcher, I'm starting you. And I expect you to go 6 innings, like you're
6 strong innings, give up 2 runs.
Hell yeah. Like
strike out 6, walk 1.
I don't understand why that was all people weren't talking about. It's only because it's in Anaheim and they didn't win the pennant or anything.
They didn't win jack shit. They really, you think if you got Trout and Ohtani, and they had some other players whose names escape me right now, but you think that they would do better than what they did?
It's
one of those things.
Pitching and defense, and it really always, no matter how much you hate the team that wins the World Series, they probably had good pitching and defense.
Pitching, defense, 3-run homer, Earl Weaver, multiple Orioles.
Yeah, I wait for, what is it? Terry Crowley can watch the game like any other fan, and then he can come off the bench in the 7th inning and hit him a fucking 3-run dare. But Earl Weaver was awesome because he would platoon dudes, knowing that they were great off of right-handers or they were great off of left-handers, but they really couldn't hit from the others.
Yeah. He was one of the first, not really analytics, but he understood the vibe.
Weaver was a genius, and so was Whitey. And Whitey never went home, or Whitey always did I got the first 3 guys in the lineup are fast, and everybody can handle the bat. So I got a bunch of guys hitting 290, 310. Everybody's going to steal 40 bases. You know what I mean? Like,
that was the Cardinals of the 80s.
Oh yeah, man.
Those guys were always on base, always stealing base. And sliding head first so they don't break the little cocaine vial.
Right? Like Tim Raines. So I've been hosting the Negro League Hall of Game Awards for a couple years. They didn't have it last year, obviously. And the year before, we did it in 2019. And Dave Parker was there.
The Cobra.
And so I got to interview him. I host the thing, right? So they give them awards. Sharon Robinson, Jackie's daughter, Dave Parker, Dave Stewart, Smoke, Eric Davis, and Fred McGriff.
Wow.
So none of these.
That's an all-star lineup.
Right? None of them are in the hall, right? But they all should be in the hall because they're all amazing. They all have World Series rings.
I'm actually still mad at Roger Clemens for winning that one Cy Young the year that Dave Stewart was supposed to win it. That was Dave Stewart's year. And I still can't believe they robbed him of that Cy Young. Don't get me started. I'm not even an A's fan.
I couldn't agree more. And also, I believe in divisional playoff games, he's 8-0.
So that's Hall of Fame right there.
Sorry.
Like when you need a win, who do you want? I would like to have Dave Stewart on my squad with the brim pulled low.
He was on the Superb A's team, and then he went to the Superb Jays team. And
that's true.
What, 17, 18 games over there.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer. And
it's funny, Greg, I'm going to say I'm very proud of you because it took you like 40 minutes into this conversation to even start to get into baseball. I feel like that's a personal record for you.
Right? So here's something exciting. I was at the 89 World Series with the A's and the Giants. And the first time I hosted it, Dave was there getting the Jackie Robinson Award. And I said, a lot of people thought the earthquake was a tragedy, but what was really a tragedy was that Dave Stewart got to start twice with 10 days rest. And I gave the scores and I said, it's what we call in San Francisco an old-fashioned ass whipping. Anyway, I got him to, you can't see it.
You keep doing this to me.
Oh, well.
Just tell us what it is. It's a podcast, Theater of the Mind, Greg.
It's an autographed World Series ticket from the 1989 World Series.
Wow.
Giants logo, the 80s Giants logo with the big G.
Wow. I was at the earthquake game, and then I didn't get to go to any other games because I had gigs. But I was at the stick because my mom, you remember my mom used to work for Bob Lurie.
Of course.
Right? And so I took you to the game. We had the fucking crazy parking pass and the third base seat side, third baseline seats and all that stuff. But so yeah, I was at the game, and then the earthquake happened, and then I didn't get to go to any other ones because I was a working comic already.
Yeah, I was at the last 2 games, and it wasn't that exciting for Giants.
I'm sorry to hurt your feelings.
I'll tell you what, Bill Baith hit a homer, and Kevin Mitchell hit a homer, and I was pretty excited because Kevin Mitchell was one of my favorite.
Kevin Mitchell was a pretty good ball player, the barehanded catch. Yeah, he's kind of clutch.
Right. And the one hand, the beer hand.
Yeah. Ooh. What do you got coming up?
Thank you for asking. I'm supposed to go to the Punchline in San Francisco, which I'm very much hoping happens. The 29th, there'll be a podcast there, and then 30th, 31st, and 1st, because the New Year's falls on a weekend. So the 1st, I think, is Saturday. So we're doing one show on the 1st, which will be fun. Don't you love one show nights?
One show on a Saturday.
Right?
I mean, it's January 1st, but it is a Saturday. So people will want to do stuff.
If we sell enough tickets, maybe they'll add another one. But I'm pretty happy because I'll be off at 9:30 and I can go hang out.
Man, one show's the past few New Year's Eves, I've just done the early show.
Oh, really? Well, I'm doing both.
They're like, you want to do the early or the late show? I'm like, I'm going to do the early show. I'm going to sneak out at 9 o'clock. I'm going to go find my own party. I'm not going to have to deal with the club that decided to hand out the noisemakers before the fucking late show starts.
I've been on-
Good to be here, everybody.
Yeah, it's amazing what adults find amusing. But you're giving children's toys and people go bananas. Although I do like wearing a tiara.
I thought you were going to say the masked singer.
Yeah, right. Oh God. And this year, heaven knows what. Anyway, I usually improvise that set, so it's pretty fun. And then I'll be on the road with Who's Line. We have a group called Who's Live anyway. See what we did?
Right. I see how you did that.
Right. Ryan Stiles and me and 2 other guys. I don't remember their names. And no, it's Jeff Davis, who I mentioned before, the one who wants to smoke weed that's not strong. And Joel Murray, who you'll know from Mad Men and all that. And
oh, nice.
And yeah, it's great going to Chicago with Joel because he's a Murray. So when you're with him, when you're with him, like
king of the Murrays.
We went to a Cubs playoff game 4 years ago when they played the Mets, when the Mets beat them. But that night they beat the Mets and they had 10 home runs. So like Rizzo had 2, everybody had 2. And there was a before party, and Joel is really super casual, right? Joel goes, "Hey, you guys, there's like, party before the game if you want to, go." So yeah,
of course,
that'd be grand. We go in. I meet the Ricketts, who own the Cubs.
Wow.
Yeah, Randy Hundley.
Wow.
Pete LeCoq, who was Peter Marshall's son from Hollywood Squares, and also the greatest baseball name of all time, next to Peter LeCoq.
Next to Dick Pole.
Dick Pole. And
I would like to get a picture of Pete LeCoq standing next to Dick Pole. Actually, that's on my bucket list of things to do.
And he let me wear his World Series ring. He had a 1985 Kansas City World Series ring, which was the Bianca Lana, Brett Saberhagen, George Brett team. And he let me.
Did you give it back?
Huh?
Did you give it back?
No, I palmed it in the toilet and then I ran as furiously as I could to Addison. And in a fire.
What's your personal heist music theme song? What was playing? Was it Mission Impossible? Was it Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow?
No, I used the one that Quentin Tarantino stole for Jackie Brown. That's from Superfly. That bonk, bonk.
Nice. Curtis Mayfield.
That way I can go like this. Right? When you check behind you to make sure that Officer O. Murphy isn't intruding on your. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing you get invited to in Chicago when you're with Joel, because we got to the door and there was a giant queue and a scrum outside, and they were like, right this way, Mr. Murray. And it was like,
bruh, it's kind of nice getting styled out by your homie sometimes. It's not like you don't get the opportunity to be right this way, Mr. Proofs.
Oh, when we were in San Francisco, I took him to all my places, and everywhere we went, it was, hey, Greg, so yeah.
When I'm at cannabis events.
Oh yeah, you're the superstar.
And Doug's not there. I'm the man.
To steal your thunder.
He never leaves the trailer anyway.
No, I was going to say, none of us are smoking with the fans anymore, so that's out.
So tough.
For the moment, but we'll be back in a year.
We're coming back. There'll be another vaccine or whatever. We'll get into it.
It's going to take some time, and everyone has to be patient. I think we're going to have to get used to masks. And by the way, I'm all for masks on airplanes staying till long after this is over. I realize now that I haven't been sick. I got bronchitis, okay, but Mostly I haven't been sick in like 2 years because of washing your hands every 2 seconds and wearing a mask.
There's a lot to be said for cleanliness and hygiene in general. I
People
don't
are
know how we
gross.
live this long without it.
They put their feet on seats and stuff. You fly, it's like, it's gross.
I don't let people do that around me.
Yeah, it's horrible. So
I
I
give them the
appreciate
stink eye. And I'm also old enough and I dress like a professor, so I can give them the uncle or the professor sort of, young person. We don't do that around here.
Oh no, the disapproval.
Oh,
We've reached, both of us, the age where with the glasses and the clothes, you can literally go, "Excuse me, young man, will you put that down?" And no one's called me Greg at a club in 5 years. Everyone calls me Mr. Proops, which is horrible.
oh my God.
When you're Mr. Proops, you can go, "I'd like some coffee," and they're like, "Mr. Proops would like coffee," right?
Mr. Proops would like some coffee right away. Listen,
graduated Mr. Proops during my 50s, and it was like, okay, fine.
About 3 years ago,
and then it was like, why fight it? Because you walk into a place you haven't been, and they go, "Hello,
Mr. Proops. Hello, Mr. Beelum. Right away. Yes, I am Mr. Beelum. Good to see you. Fantastic.
Right?
And take care of that, will you?
Exactly.
And be a quick fellow.
I'm in the mafia now.
The comedy mafia. Greg Proops. He's a main man.
I had a person say to me in Portland, I said, I'm just like a guy in a thing. And they went, "Oh no, you've got the professor thing going."
Oh yeah.
So it really.
My daughter's friends used to say that when she was in high school. All her friends would be like, "Your dad looks like he teaches at the college. Is he an African studies professor? What does he teach?" I teach weed and sex, you guys.
I would say,
questions.
The look you have now, I would say literary criticism, or obviously too obvious to say African studies. I would say like
African studies is a little too on the nose. Literary criticism makes more sense.
That's
Nuclear physics.
Or I would say like you have you're the vice chair of like the Pan-African Caribbean
right
whatever,
arts and culture.
Right. Speaking of which, I have to
speaking of arts and culture,
you were asking
Greg, is it gregproofs.com, by the way?
Yes, it is. I should let you go.
Well, no, we have some time. I love talking to you, and we never get the chance to talk. And so let us chop it up. This is Chopping It Up with Ngaio, brought to you by juicyfields.io. Check them out, juicyfields.io. I'm here with Greg Proops, and we're pretending to wrap it up, but we're wordy sons of bitches. So who knows? Who knows?
I'm going to throw something heavy in there at the end, but you were asking what I was watching, and at the beginning of the containment last year, which by the way were dark days. Anybody who's complaining about like Biden's not doing enough or whatever, get with the program.
Right.
Try to remember what it was like before when you woke up every morning with the furious screeching in your ears.
Yeah.
So, and also dig, Black woman vice president. Hello. Does that mean anything? Do you understand why they're so angry? Lots of white people are like, what? And you're like, Obama and Kamala have really put the whammy on them. That's why they're having the biggest freak out in the history of mankind.
That's also why they're tripling down, right? Because they realize
Biden was Obama's guy. Biden is Kamala's guy. It's like,
yeah.
So that's, why do you think they are like?
No, they, yeah, you know how they
There's
are.
Jews in the White House, they're running freely. They're eating bagels on the lawn and they're hugging the vice president and
there's capers,
right? It got crazy.
See how I tie that back in? See how it's the through line. Capers are the egg of this particular podcast. They're the binder.
Well, I was going to say this show I was watching, I don't know if it's on anymore, but you might be able to get it on like HBO Max or whatever. But there's a filmmaker named Raoul Peck, and he did lots of films, including one about the revolutionary leader of Haiti. But it was called Exterminate All the Brutes. And
right. I heard about that. It's on HBO.
Oh my God.
It's a series.
It was really good because he's an academic, right? Or, he's a serious filmmaker.
Yeah.
He's a politician too, but he's also a polemicist. So part of it's dramatized, part of it's straight history, part of it's, he doesn't approach it from one angle. You're getting a lot of different information. And it's all about the colonization of the New World. And there's a scene in the beginning where like the conquistadors land in a boat, the Indians come to meet him, and the Indians wipe them all out and leave them dead. And that's just a scene, like he doesn't explain it or go into, like you're supposed to draw conclusions from he involves you. And then of course it's the through line of it with real history and real footage. And
yeah. I've heard great things about it. I haven't watched it because I can't be bleak right now.
Well, that's the thing. I was gonna say it's a little heavy. If you want something lighter,
I can't. No, I'm gonna watch that, and then I'm gonna read some Cormac McCarthy.
Right. And so you can really slash your wrist.
I can really just feel it. Just get all the way through it.
He'll really lighten your spirits. There's a comedian from France named Omar Sy, and he did a show called Lupin, and it's on.
I love that show.
Where he's a jewel thief.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I watched
in
both
modern
seasons.
Paris. He's
where based on the character Lupin.
Yeah, he's a computer whiz, and it's great. Yeah. That show's great.
With the costumes and everything. Yeah. Listen, that's heists and capers and a black guy outsmarting everybody. Bruh.
Oh, man.
That's my cup of tea. Right? It's my cup of homie.
The first scene where he's in the Louvre and he's dressed as a janitor and he walks by and no one pays any attention. And then when he steals the thing, the diamond, he walks by in the janitor outfit and no one even looks twice. And you're like, genius.
It reminded me of The Spook Who Sat by the Door. I don't know if you remember that film. The government tried to bury that film for years and years and years. Like a lot of people
don't know that Ivan Dixon. I mean, he did the Hogan's Hero gig to make money, but he was an independent filmmaker.
Yeah. He's the director of Spook Who Sat by the Door, by the way, which is about the first black CIA agent who uses the skills that he got to help with the revolutionary and the equality cause in the inner city. Think Killmonger.
Yeah.
But in the 60s or 70s. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Very cool.
There's the footnotes for that.
Yeah, right. You're going to have to annotate the hell out of it.
We're going to annotate the hell out of
it.
Opsit. Ibid.
Yeah, Ibid. Page 45. Reference 5. A little asterisk. When you have to go to the back of the book, right? And you're like, what?
Right. You got to use the Barrett's system or whatever. I don't remember the system anymore, but there's some standard footnoting systems you have to use. And we expect you to use the style book from the New York Times.
Yeah.
So I've actually been reading the National Geographic style guide because I still one day would like to write at least one article for them. I think it would be cool. If you were writing for the National Geographic, what would you write?
Oh, I like when they do profiles of a country and they'll go like Cyprus, a new beginning, or you know what I mean? Like, it'll be like Ecuador, forgotten pearl, and then it's,
right.
Then it shows villagers praying, and then there's a scene of the jungle, and then we're on a boat, and then there's a bustling seafood market, and then there's an ancient ruin, and I love those ones. I really love those.
I would like to do that with the El Camino Real.
Oh, nice.
Right? Wouldn't that be cool? You follow El Camino Real, a path through California.
I grew up in San Carlos, so I'm right on the
L. You're right on the L. So it starts at Mission Street in San Francisco, and it goes all the way to. You're supposed to be able to take it all the way to LA.
Oh yeah, I think you can, but it changes. It becomes a bunch of like a river. It changes names. They have those bells that are all near it, and when you're
right. I think that would be a cool journey. I would like to just do that journey one day anyway. Just get a nice car and drive for a week through California to get to LA from San Francisco. Right. It took me 4 days. We made good time.
Right. Growing up on the peninsula, it's like the artery, because not like the freeway 101, but like every town, Millbrae, Burlingame, whatever, San Mateo, it runs right through the middle of all of our towns. And so
it's the heart. South San Francisco, Mission Street. It's just the thing. That's the thing. Most definitely. Top of the Hill, Daly City, all that stuff.
Top of the Hill, Daly City. Go get him.
It's Stephen Matthew David.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think our hour and change has come to an end.
All right, baby.
I cannot thank you enough for coming over. And I'm actually going to be in Irvine on the 27th at the Improv with Doug. But I don't know if I will be looking to hang out with people or accepting visitors. I'll probably be in my own trying to maintain road discipline, which is a challenge for me. And but I'll be masked and vaxxed or whatever, vaxxed and relaxed. I don't know what the kids say. And find me on the Twitter and all the stuff. But I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, sir.
Maybe.
You'd be very
we'll
well.
Figure out some ways.
Holiday, man.
Hey man, thanks again, man. It's always a pleasure to see your voice, see your face, and to hear your voice. Tell Jennifer and everybody I love them. And this is Chopping Up with Ngaio, brought to you by juicyfields.io, and we will see you on the next episode.